Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Worldwide Review Series for the 17th of October, 2019 and 92. We continue to roll through what is a very interesting time in WCW Wrestling. 92, probably my favorite year of all the WCW years. Thus, it's interesting to go through this year. Probably nostalgia because of my childhood, this being the first year that I had access to WCW. But in the same vein, looking back at it, I can understand why, as a kid, I would enjoy this year, and looking back as an adult, why I enjoy it much more than most of what happens in pro wrestling these days. The quality of talent is, in a lot of cases, better in terms of actual wrestling ability. The value of guys historically is a lot more memorable. Anyway, we open with Brad Armstrong facing off in an enhancement talent match. Of course, he ends up with the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship for a little while. John Peterson is the enhancement talent. Takedown, shoots in, goes after the leg. Pretty basic stuff. Nothing necessarily to write home about. Hooks on the legs, leg grapevine along the middle, and a very basic series of moves. Back elbow by Peterson, and eventually Armstrong gets the inverted Russian leg sweep and a 1-2-3 for his trouble here. Jake Roberts often promising to spin the wheel, make the deal, and finish Sting once and for all in the WCW Magazine segment. Highlights of the, as part of the WCW Magazine segment, highlights of Rhodes and Wyndham winning the tag team championships from Williams and Gordy, and kind of some hype there. We see that Bill Watts is surprised by them going at it, and Armstrong in there again in another match with Dustin Rhodes in a short-term deal. Actually see some hype there as Barry Windham pulls Rhodes off of the apron. Not impressed with that. Again, highlight package basically acknowledging the turn of a Barry Windham against Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes stays the baby face, and the heel obviously goes on to the benefit that is that run. Anyway, needless to say, back suplex by Williams, or by Steve Austin, Brian Pillman in a squash match here. They do not officially become a tag team for another couple months yet. They still kind of tease it, but they've done a couple of squash matches on television, but are not official yet. Austin manages to nail a clothesline across the throat and drag things off to Pillman. Austin and Pillman get a victory. Pillman as a heel is classic here and is classic throughout his run as a Hollywood Blonde with Steve Austin. Promises by Ron Simmons to win the WCW Championship match at Halloween Havoc 92. Barbarian is promoted by Cactus Jack as the man who will take the belt off of Simmons, as one would expect. We have a mock-up of the spin the wheel, make the deal thing, and the contract signing by both men. This is before contract signings were, a monthly thing on WWE, because they don't know how to be creative to save their life, and no one cares about paper they never see the actual documentation of anyway. But anyhow, continuing to go through the Halloween Havoc series of hype, obviously kind of going through that. The Barbarian here for an enhancement match, as it were. Pretty big deal there. And we continue to go through some pretty, I wouldn't say gruesome stuff, but interesting stuff nonetheless. Barbarian comes out, punches, chops, and a couple of shots that are pretty cheesy, and a running kick by the Barbarian, trying to get him ready to face Ron Simmons at the pay-per-view. Not exactly the greatest thing in the world, but still a pretty big deal. We then see Scott Steiner as a single. Bill Watts believing that there was more money in him as a single than there is in him as a tag. And Rick Steiner also kind of taken down. We see Steamboat, who is the television champion here, and they go pretty aggressively towards each other. They get about 10 minutes for the television championship match here. And Steiner ends up with some power moves, main headlocks, and basic stuff here. Obviously, Scott Steiner pretty stable in WCW at the time, been around since 88, 89, and finally getting some singles push. Anyway, out to the floor, crossbody to the floor, and they both kind of square off. They go back into the ring, and we see Steamboat doesn't want to cheat, but without a doubt, Scott Steiner is willing to cheat along the way here. Steamboat with the Fireman's Carry takeover, among other things, keeps on the arm and remains committed to basic holds throughout. Then we see Steamboat again cinching up on the arm, very basic stuff along the midsection way, and an Irish whip, belly-to-belly suplex, and overhead by Steiner. Really, really basic thing there, and hard shots along the way. That belly-to-belly is followed up by a bear hug, slows the match down more than it should. Steiner sends Steamboat out to the floor and willing to pounce on him in ways that he probably wouldn't under other circumstances. Brings him back in, rolls him up, and Scott Steiner is your new television champion to close the program. Steiner bragging about that, willing to cheat to get the title and take cheap shots where he can, but that is that, and we will close with this particular part of the program. We'll be back with more right after this.